Stoicism teaches us that the most powerful journey we can take is the one inward, toward the discovery and mastery of ourselves. Too often, people look outward for happiness, validation, and meaning, chasing after the opinions of others or the fleeting pleasures of the world. But the Stoics remind us that life becomes abundant when we shift the spotlight inward and make ourselves our greatest project. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It means prioritizing the growth of your character, the sharpening of your mind, and the strengthening of your soul. When you stop scattering your energy in the pursuit of external approval, you discover the unlimited potential hidden within. Imagine building an inner fortress so strong that no insult, no setback, no loss can ever shake your peace. This is the essence of Stoicism, understanding that life is not about controlling what happens outside of you, but mastering how you respond to it. The person who is calm in storms, who is disciplined in temptation, who is grateful in scarcity, and who is humble in abundance is the one who will find that life eventually gives back everything worth having. Focus on yourself, and the world cannot take that away. At the heart of Stoicism lies discipline. Discipline of thought, of action, and of desire. When you learn to discipline yourself, you no longer need the world to guide your behavior because you have set your own compass. Self-focus means setting clear boundaries and living in alignment with your values. No matter what others do, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily not to waste time worrying about the opinions of men who would soon be dust and bones. If you place your worth in the shifting opinions of others, you will forever be enslaved by them. Instead, turn inward. Train your mind to filter out noise, your emotions to stay steady, and your willpower to resist impulses that weaken you. Just as a sculptor removes excess stone to reveal a masterpiece, you must remove distractions, laziness, and negativity to reveal your best self. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you have the potential to become. The more you master yourself, the more life seems to fall into place, because success, peace, and fulfillment naturally flow to the disciplined soul. True freedom, the Stoics argue, is not found in doing whatever we want whenever we want, but in mastering our desires and emotions so they no longer rule us. When you focus on yourself, you begin to recognize how often you are enslaved, not by others, but by your own uncontrolled impulses. Anger makes you a servant of rage. Greed makes you a servant of possessions. And fear makes you a servant of shadows that don't even exist. By practicing self-control, you liberate yourself from these chains. Epictetus taught that freedom comes when we stop craving things outside our control and find satisfaction within. Every time you resist reacting in anger, every time you refuse to be swayed by envy, and every time you choose gratitude over complaint, you reclaim a piece of your inner kingdom. Over time, this becomes a fortress of freedom no external power can conquer. The paradox is that the more you restrain your impulses, the freer you actually become. When you master yourself, life will bring you everything, because you are no longer begging the world for scraps of happiness. You already carry it within. A central lesson of Stoicism is the clear distinction between what we can control and what we cannot. Most suffering in life comes from confusing the two. We agonize over people's opinions, the passage of time, unexpected losses, and outcomes that never belonged to us in the first place. Focusing on yourself means withdrawing energy from the uncontrollable and pouring it into the controllable, your thoughts, choices, and actions. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some are not." Once you internalize this truth, you stop wasting energy trying to bend the world to your will. Instead, you bend your will to align with reality. Acceptance is not weakness, it is strength, because it prevents you from being destroyed by what is inevitable. Imagine walking through a storm. If you resist it, you suffer doubly. But if you accept it and move with calm, the storm loses its power over you. When you shift focus from external chaos to inner order, you become unshakable. Life rewards those who stop fighting battles that cannot be won and instead invest in the mastery of the self. Hardship is not an enemy in the Stoic worldview. It is a teacher. When you focus on yourself, you stop seeing difficulties as punishments and start seeing them as opportunities for growth. Every challenge is a chance to practice courage, patience, and wisdom. Seneca taught that misfortune is not something to fear, but something to use, like a fire that strengthens the iron of character. When you lose wealth, you learn that true wealth lies in contentment. When you are betrayed, you learn that trust should be placed in your own virtue, not in the fleeting loyalty of others. When you suffer pain, you realize the power of endurance. To focus on yourself means to use every hardship as fuel for transformation. Instead of asking, "Why me?" the Stoic asks, "How can this make me stronger?" Life eventually rewards such a mindset, because the person who treats suffering as training becomes unbreakable. And once you are unbreakable, the world has no weapon against you. One of the greatest obstacles to inner peace is the constant hunger for validation. Many live not for themselves, but for the applause of others. Stoicism cuts this chain by teaching us that true worth is measured not by external praise, but by internal integrity. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, lived surrounded by voices of flattery and criticism, yet he reminded himself daily that the opinion of others could not change the truth of his character. Focusing on yourself means silencing the desperate need to be liked, admired, or approved of. It means asking, am I living in harmony with my values? Rather than, do others approve of me? When you detach from external validation, you become free to act with authenticity. The irony is that when you stop seeking approval, people often respect you more, because they see strength in your independence. Life will bring you everything you truly need once you stop chasing the shallow rewards of validation and start nurturing the deep reward of self-respect. Another Stoic lesson is that simplicity is the path to freedom. The modern world encourages endless desires, bigger houses, faster cars, more recognition, constant stimulation. But the Stoics remind us that true happiness lies not in adding more, but in needing less. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Focusing on yourself means detaching from the illusions of consumerism and turning toward the wealth of simplicity. When you live simply, you are harder to control, because you do not fear losing what you do not need. You eat to nourish, not to indulge. You work to fulfill purpose, not to chase vanity. You rest not to escape, but to recover strength. Life becomes lighter, freer, and more joyful. By choosing simplicity, you reclaim time, clarity, and inner peace, gifts that no material wealth can replace. And as paradoxical as it sounds, once you stop obsessing over possessions, life often brings you everything you need. Gratitude is one of the most powerful Stoic tools for focusing on yourself. Instead of constantly longing for what you lack, gratitude teaches you to see the abundance already within your grasp. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning to appreciate the gift of waking up, breathing, and facing a new day. When you focus on yourself, you stop measuring your life by what the world has not given you and start appreciating the treasures you already have: health, time, relationships, knowledge, and the ability to act with virtue. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into blessings and scarcity into sufficiency. When practiced daily, it strengthens resilience, reduces envy, and cultivates inner peace. Life seems to bring you more when you are grateful, because your perspective changes. You stop feeling empty and start seeing fullness everywhere. Gratitude is not a passive feeling. It is an active discipline of the Stoic mind, reminding you that happiness is not found in more possessions, but in deeper appreciation of what you already hold. To focus on yourself means to master your emotions, not to be mastered by them. Stoicism does not demand the suppression of feelings, but their regulation, so that reason and virtue always lead the way. Anger, fear, jealousy, and sadness are natural, but if left unchecked, they cloud judgment and enslave the soul. Marcus Aurelius taught that it is not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. By controlling how we interpret, we control how we feel. Imagine someone insults you. If you attach value to their words, you suffer. If you dismiss them as meaningless, you remain calm. Emotional balance allows you to act, not react. It gives you the ability to face storms with a steady mind and victories with humility. A balanced soul cannot be manipulated because it is not tossed around by moods or external conditions. Life favors the emotionally balanced person because they are trusted, respected, and sought after, while those enslaved by emotion destroy themselves. Focusing on emotional balance ensures that life eventually brings you everything that truly matters: peace, respect, and stability. Without purpose, focusing on yourself becomes aimless. Stoicism teaches that every human being is designed to live with meaning, to use reason, courage, and virtue to serve the greater good. Focusing on yourself means asking, what is my highest duty? What am I uniquely placed here to do? Purpose is not about chasing fame or wealth. It is about aligning your life with principles that outlast you. Marcus Aurelius carried the weight of an empire but reminded himself daily that his true purpose was not power, but service. A person who knows their purpose becomes unstoppable, because obstacles become stepping stones and hardships become tests of devotion. Life seems to open doors for the purposeful soul because clarity attracts opportunities while confusion repels them. To live without purpose is to drift endlessly. To live with purpose is to march steadily toward fulfillment. When you find your why, life will eventually bring you everything, because meaning turns even suffering into victory. Focusing on yourself means cultivating independence of thought and spirit. Stoicism teaches us not to lean too heavily on others for happiness, stability, or direction. While relationships are valuable, your peace should not depend on anyone else's presence or approval. Epictetus urged his students to rely on their own reason and virtue, because anything external is fragile and fleeting. When you build self-reliance, you are no longer crushed by abandonment, betrayal, or loneliness, because your foundation lies within. Self-reliance does not mean isolation. It means carrying your own weight, being capable of standing firm, even when no one is around to support you. In a world where people constantly seek validation or escape responsibility, the self-reliant individual shines with quiet strength. Life eventually favors such people because they can lead without needing followers and endure without needing rescuers. The more you trust yourself, the more the world seems to trust you too. And in this trust lies everything you seek. Mindfulness, though often associated with Eastern philosophy, is also central to Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly about being present in this very moment, because the present is all we ever truly own. Focusing on yourself means living consciously, rather than drifting through life in distraction. How much time do we waste replaying the past or fearing the future? Stoicism teaches that both are illusions. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but the present is fully alive. When you are mindful, you notice the beauty of a simple breath, the sound of the wind, the warmth of a conversation. You stop living as if life is rehearsal and start living as if it is performance. Mindfulness grounds you in reality, prevents regret, and sharpens awareness. A mindful person uses every moment wisely, while a distracted person loses life second by second. Life rewards mindfulness with clarity, joy, and focus, which eventually bring you everything you once thought could only be found in the future. Focusing on yourself also means confronting your flaws with honesty and humility. The Stoics taught that arrogance blinds us, while humility opens the door to wisdom. Seneca reminded his readers that even the wisest man still has much to learn. Humility does not mean weakness. It means being grounded enough to accept correction, learn from mistakes, and grow continuously. When you are humble, you stop competing with others for recognition, and instead compete with yourself to improve daily. Humility turns every person into a teacher, and every experience into a lesson. Life favors the humble, because pride invites downfall while humility invites elevation. Think of a tree heavy with fruit. It bends low, while the barren tree stands tall with emptiness. Humility is the invisible strength that makes all other virtues possible. Focus on yourself with humility, and life will bring you everything. Because humility allows you to receive knowledge, wisdom, and growth that arrogance blocks. Though Stoicism emphasizes focusing on yourself, it does not mean ignoring others. Instead, it teaches that by improving yourself, you are better equipped to serve the world. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that he was made to work with others, like a hand designed to fit into a body. Focusing on yourself builds virtue, strength, and wisdom, which naturally overflow into service. A selfish life is shallow, but a virtuous life uplifts both the self and others. By serving others with kindness, justice, and integrity, you find that life brings you a deeper satisfaction than selfish pursuits ever could. Service is not about sacrifice alone. It is about alignment with human nature, which thrives in community and contribution. When you make yourself strong, and then use that strength to lift others, you fulfill both personal and universal purpose. Life eventually rewards service with respect, love, and legacy, gifts far greater than material gain. In the end, Stoicism teaches that the ultimate goal is self-mastery, the ability to govern your thoughts, emotions, desires, and actions with wisdom and virtue. To focus on yourself means to embark on a lifelong journey of becoming your highest self. Life may not always give you wealth, fame, or comfort, but through self-mastery, you realize those things were never the true rewards. The real treasure is freedom from fear, peace in adversity, clarity in confusion, and strength in weakness. When you have mastered yourself, you no longer chase life, it comes to you. You no longer beg for happiness, you create it. This is the secret the Stoics understood, that everything you seek outside already exists inside, waiting to be unlocked by discipline, wisdom, and focus. To master yourself is to possess everything, because the person who rules within is richer than the one who rules empires. Focus on yourself, and life will bring you everything. Not because the world changes, but because you have.